Hey guys, thanks for being here. I'm Stephen Scott from Double Tap TV. In this segment from Double Tap TV on AMI TV, we go hands-on with the dot pad. Can it really make graphics tactile? Let's find out.
You're watching Double Tap TV.
Back on Double Tap TV. Now, Mark, last season on the show, we introduced you to a device called the dot pad, remember?
Yeah, I did. That's the device that turns flat graphics into like tactile ones, right?
Exactly. And I want to talk about my experience. But before I do that, I wanted to share a great description of the device itself from a user, Kevin Chow, who's a listener to our show and a viewer of our Double Tap TV program.
It's like 9 inches by 11 and like an inch and a quarter thick. So kind of similar to the size of like almost like probably an iPad Pro, but a little bit thicker. And then like the top 2/3 of it mostly has the tactile graphics display. And then there's a row of 6 buttons used for navigation and interaction. And then there's a 20-cell Braille display used for rendering text. Main kind of cool part is really the tactile graphics part. Like most probably voiceover or screen reader users may get like images or screenshots without alt text and be like, oh, okay, doesn't have any meaning or description. So I guess I'm just gonna not know what's in here, or just this isn't meaningful to me. But the cool thing with with the dot pad is it's really cool to be able to get the layout and the structure and to get the feel for all these different these visual things that have been out there forever, but we just haven't had access to.
So, Stephen, we always say the holy grail of Braille technology. Is this device that fulfill that need? Like, is it meet that description?
Yeah, I mean, I have to tell you, this is one of many devices coming out now. There are a lot of these. There's the Graffiti from the Orbit project. APH, the American Printing House for the Blind, are working on a project. DotPad is involved in that as well. These are not all individual projects, I should say. They all work together. But the DotPad is one which is really interesting. Now, the Dot company, Dot Inc., created what many people might remember as the Dot Watch, the first Braille smartwatch. And this was a really cool watch, remember it? So you had Apple Watch size, wasn't that different, but it had a circular face and you could read on that. There were 3 Braille cells and that would give you the time, it would give you text information. So someone sends you a text, it would read it out, or you just display it, because what happens is the text actually moves along. So each Braille cell is continually changing. You just put your finger on one of the cells and it'll just change underneath you and you just read out the text message or Facebook message or whatever it was. So that company developed that. They've now moved into this, which is a really interesting device. So you've got over 200 pins on here, and I've actually got it in front of me here, Mark. It's a really cool looking device. I've laid it down here beside my iPhone because I want to show you a couple of things. So what it is essentially is, as Kevin mentioned, it is this multi-line display, which also has a single Braille display at the bottom, and that allows you to read the text of whatever it is. Now, for example, I have on my iPhone right now, on my home screen, I'm focused on the camera application. Now, the camera app has an icon, which you can see, obviously, of a camera, and that image is actually being displayed right now on this dot pad, right? Super cool. So that's actually displaying, and the text that reads along the bottom, it's actually reading out, it's actually saying there, camera. So that's what's spelling out at the bottom on that line below. So I'm able to actually get a sense of not just what I'm on, but what it looks like, what that camera application logo looks like. And then I can look at some other applications. Here's my photos, for example. But then I can go further than that. So let me actually get into an image, for example. I can go into an image on my camera roll in my Photos app, for example. And when I go in there, I'm able to pull up a picture of me looking beautiful, as you can expect. And there I am. Now, this picture is of me wearing my headphones, traditional, me sitting with my headphones on, recording somewhere, and I've taken this picture of myself. And the dot pad is actually trying to build that image up. Now, it can do it in a couple of different ways. It can actually give you the whole image, or it can give you the background first, then it can give you my outline next, and then it can give me anything else in the image. So I can build that image in my head, not as one thing, but in several layers, which is really cool. And again, any text that appears around that will be displayed on the display below. So a really powerful device. I've got to say, Mark, it's a really cool device. It's brilliant. I mean, we're talking over $15,000 at the moment, so this is not a cheap device.
Oh, God.
Yeah, this is not a cheap device.
I mean, if I were to try to do a test with you and just put an image up, do you think you'd be able to decipher what that image is without knowing first what's going up on it?
I don't know because I suppose you have to spend the time really getting that image in your head or building this out, because again the problem is it depends on what else is going on in the image, right? So if you took a picture of yourself and you were standing in front of, say, a big wall unit that had lots of dishes in it, right? So you could see all the dishes. I might be thinking, what's all that, right? So, it might not make sense to me that there's even a face in there. But again, that's what's cool about this is that the technology is able to layer out. It's able to pick out using AI, and this is all done through the application on the iPhone. I mean, they've actually had the software built in since iOS 15.2. That's amazing that they achieved that.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
I'm constantly amazed at the things that we can do with tech. It's like it's honestly become so much fun. But that price point, what price point do you think it needs to get to hit the mainstream, or at least make people consider it?
Well, in the blind world, you get used to expensive products, right? I mean, a Braille display can cost $5,000. A Braille embosser that prints out Braille could cost upwards of $10,000. So we're kind of used to expensive products. They often are only available to people who are in employment at the moment. That's the problem. To get a device like this, and it's something that we talked about last season with the makers of this at the Dot Company, to get this product down, it has to become as mainstream as possible. And that means get it to more people, get it to as many kids who are in education as possible. I think that's going to be the key, right? Education is often the key here. It's often where these products tend to develop. But he's also said, and the company has said, that getting this out to people in business, there are many accountants who are blind, there are many lawyers who are blind. They often have to look at charts and information. Being able to get that information on a device like that could make a real difference to them. More people who buy it, the price comes down. Simple as that. But you have to start somewhere with it, and ultimately it will be the business world and education markets, I think, that make the price come down.
Another example of how people are using apps and machine learning in the Braille space is apps. It's the software side of things. So stay right there, because we've got a great app story coming up right here on Double Tap TV. It's up next.
Can't get enough Double Tap TV? Subscribe to the podcast and get your fill of Double Tap every day. Visit doubletaponair.com and follow us now. Double Tap TV will be right back.
Thanks for watching Double Tap here on YouTube. If you're not already subscribed, please do that so you don't miss another video.